to the Benteh STEAM Academy. My name is Kat, and today we're creating small lanterns to head into the colder months and keep your homes bright. Traditionally, oil lamps were used to illuminate homes across the state. Traditionally carved from stone or using ceramics, this is one that I created with one of our classes earlier this year. Together, we're going to use our tech tools to create your 3D lamps. If you're going to be using Glowforge and your laser cutter, stick around for the next video. But for now, we're going to jump into Tinkercad and get ready to 3D design our lamp. To begin, I'm going to take measurements of the candle so that there's a place for the light to fit right in. This candle is about 1.5 inches across. So I'm going to add a cylinder to my work plane that's exactly 1.5 inches across and roughly the same height. Later, I'm going to use this in my design. I'm going to choose a shape that has several flat faces so I can repeat the pattern all around. I'm going to choose the polygon shape because I think it's best for my design. About 3 inches tall looks just right for me, so I'm going to uniform scale up this shape to 3 inches tall. In the shape menu, I'm going to change the number of sides to 12 with the slider and adjust the bevel and segments of the bevel. This is going to round over the top and bottom corners of the polygon shape, and I'm just going to adjust it until I think it looks right. For me, that's right about here at 2.5 for bevel and 10 segments. The next step is to hollow out the shape. So I'm going to duplicate the shape and again scale the duplicate while holding Shift and Alt on my PC. That will scale it uniformly and from the center, so my original shape and duplicate will be centered together. Then in the shape menu, I'm going to change it to a hole and select both shapes and group them into one shape. Now, at this point, it doesn't look like much has happened because the hole is fully inside the solid shape. So let's create a hole in the top, and I'm going to use the polygon shape to line up the edges on this shape for my new polygon. Then I'll turn this polygon into a hole and raise it off the work plane before grouping both shapes. Now take a look. Can you see the space for the candle? It's inside. For my next step, I'm going to ensure that there's a spot for the candles to sit. So I'm going to start with a flattened cylinder that will become a flat bottom inside with a little dish for the candle to sit into. Remember the cylinder that we made at the beginning? I'm going to turn that into a hole now and make it just a tiny bit bigger and set that inside the flat cylinder. Then all three shapes can be grouped to create the structures inside my light. To become a lantern, there needs to be several spaces where light will pass through. So now it's time to decide what that will look like. I like to use repeating patterns, so I'm going to create 2 patterns and alternate that between my side panels. My lamp is created for my niece, and she's really into bunnies these days. So I'm going to create that. To make it easier for me, I'm going to start with my simpler panels, just a variety of cylinders that are resized and aligned to the face of one panel. Then I'll make all of them have hole properties and align them before grouping them together, but not yet with that lantern shape. Before then, I'll duplicate the group of cylinder holes and rotate them around to every other panel, like this. To create the more complicated bunny shape, I'm going to create it flat on the work plane, then make adjustments to the lantern. I think cylinders will get me pretty close to a bunny, so by bringing them out one by one and adjusting their dimensions, I'm going to create the bunny's profile with the body, legs, feet, head, ears, and arms. I also want to use a few box shapes just to finish out the arms and the legs. Once the shape looks how I want, I'm going to group and rotate it to fit flat on the face of the lantern. Adding in a few more cylinder shapes and duplicating that rabbit, then I will use those same rotations and I'll duplicate my bunny motif all around the faces of the lantern. Whew, that was a little bit complicated, but I hope my niece really loves how my product turned out. I really also look forward to seeing what you design. Remember, if you were planning on creating this with a Glowforge, stick around for our next video. Thanks for joining me today at the Alaska STEAM Hub. I love to see what you create, so keep creating and check us out later.